you to our web app project, Munchstars. During the presentation, I'm going to introduce the team, give an overview of the project, then Andy's going to go through a demo of the app. Catherine's then going to go through some of the problems we experienced and some of the lessons learned. Then finally Liam's going to go through some of the development work. At the end of the presentation, we'll take any questions. Okay. Fit the team. So we have Andy, Catherine, Liam and myself, Joe, and as you've already been told, we're second year digital design students at the end of our course. At the beginning of the project, we looked at individually what we wanted to achieve and the roles that we wanted to play within the project. Everybody played a part in the project planning and the research and preparing the project proposal. Andy and Catherine were more interested in the design side of things. They wanted to work on the UX and the user interface design. Whereas myself and Liam wanted to do more on the development side. Liam wanted, in particular, to learn more skills in JavaScript, and I wanted to help more on the styling and learn more about the CSS. Project. After recently completing an app design project, we were all quite keen to use this project to work on a web app. But we wanted to keep it fun and interesting as it was our last assignment that we had full control over what we did. By creating the web app, it also allowed us to perform the roles we outlined we wanted to do and also achieve our personal objectives. We looked at a number of different areas that we could do for the app, and there was one area that was of particular interest. There was an article in the BBC last year that highlighted that UK children are becoming obese at a younger age. The latest figures for England show a fifth of children joining primary schools are now obese or overweight. Therefore, there's a need to educate children so that they can make their own informed choices. The solution? A web app for children that we identified creating a web app aimed at children aged 7 to 11, but to educate them in a fun, interactive way about health and the effect of the decisions they make on their overall well-being. And I'm now going to pass you over to Andy.
There we go. I'm Andy. Hello. I don't know what I'm doing, but let's hope I can do this. What is Munchstars? It's a web app aimed at kids to teach them about healthy eating and how it affects them. This is where I'm going to show you the product. We were going to give you a live demo, but we realized that wouldn't work. It would definitely go wrong, so we decided against it. So I've made some screen recordings to make it smoother. This is the page you're greeted with whenever you visit munchstars.com. I just need to press play here. Yeah. You can see this is our hero area. It's very exciting, lots of animations going on. Very fun to design, but a nightmare to develop. I think the buttons took a whole afternoon just to style, which is, don't kill us, Liam. A teacher then creates a team for their Munchstars by clicking sign up for their class. Each child is given a character to play with. The characters are called Munchstars. The teacher is able to monitor each child's progress so they can see which students can't grasp healthy eating. Each player can personalize their Munchster to their own liking. They can choose from dozens of possible character combinations. Then the players are required to look after their Munchster by answering questions about how to look after it. Teachers can write their own questions to reflect any curriculum. We thought if we made a super addictive game, then that might defeat the purpose of having a health app. So we set a limit of 10 questions per day, so they wouldn't be glued to the screen. Completing tasks and answering questions gets more stars. More stars increases your rank, and you can unlock more stuff for your Munchster. Next video is, this is how you create a team for Munchstars. So you just click sign up whenever it loads, yeah, and you just create a team, memorable but appropriate team name. And then you need to sign up, link it with an account. So you set up an email and password combination, and it's very slow. But then you have to create an admin user for each team to allow someone to monitor, edit, add, and remove players. And then there we go. This is whenever you're in the app. This is your player board. This is where you can add players, remove players, edit players, and monitor progress. To add a new one, you just click add, type in the name and their date of birth as their password, and then that creates a new player. Once you've got a player, you want to personalize it. This is the fun part of the app. This is the wardrobe, which was again very fun to design, but a nightmare if you'll ask Liam to develop. Just horrendous. But you can choose between a load of heads, bodies, and legs for your character. And when you have one you like, you just click on it and then press save. Save. There we go. Which closes the wardrobe and saves your choices. That's very fun. So we spent a lot of time playing around with those. Lots of possible combinations. Some of them are locked, but you can unlock with more stars. And you earn stars by answering questions about your character. This is the last and arguably the most important part of the app, which we didn't actually get to finish, so there's no demo of it. It's just, this is a mock-up of how it's supposed to look. So you have on the right side of the screen, you have a question box with a question about how to look after your character. So your character is hungry. He's already had lunch and it's too early for dinner. What should he eat? Toast, crisps, an apple, or chocolate. So we'll go with an apple. 50 stars, well done. Did you know an apple a day keeps the doctor away? So yeah, whenever you get to the end of your questions for the day, you can go to your wardrobe and spend your stars that you've unlocked and check out all the new upgrades you can get. Now I'm going to move you on to Catherine, who's going to talk about the many problems we had in this project. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Catherine, and I'm not going to be talking about 99 problems that we had. I'm just going to go over about 3 that we had as a team, which you probably experienced yourself. Okay, so at the start of our project, once we had a general idea of what we wanted to be doing, sat down and realized we actually all had different ideas how we wanted the app to work. To fix this, we decided to make a user journey together about how we each wanted to use the app. So we went through each section of how we're going to log in, what actually did we even want to do on the app, and just weighed up the pros and cons of each person's idea. And from that, we're able to find out what's going to be the best flow for the app, what's going to work best, and ultimately have something that we're happy with. So with this user journey, all we did was use post-it notes and stuck them all on a wall and put down every idea from rank names to mini games to expanding the use beyond a classroom environment. And from that, we really needed to whittle it down to just an MVP to what's going to be the thing we could actually put out there. So we used Moscow to organize our post-it notes just in the main sections, and from there we're able to actually move on to our wireframes, which I'm not going to feature because they're just sketches and they don't look pretty. So the UX stages actually went pretty smoothly one time. We'd made a timetable, a weekly plan for ourselves, and made sure we had 2 weeks break for ourselves just to chill out. And once we came back from that, Andy and I actually had a client job that we needed to be working on, and that was going on for about 2 weeks. So we had limited time to actually work on our own final projects. That's when panic started to happen with the developers. We had 4 weeks to go on this project, And Andy and I had only designed a few buttons, some food illustrations, and some character doodles. And the problem with this was we never actually assigned a creative director. We never actually assigned somebody to say, that's what we're going with. So Andy and I were sending over these drawings, and we weren't really sure of the capabilities of what could be developed and what these guys were capable of, and what was even capable of a web app in general. But neither did Joe and Liam. So really, we didn't know what we were doing at all. So after expressing our panic over Slack, decided just make an immediate decision on what general style to push forward with. And from that, we decided, myself and Andy were going to make all the decisions on the design. And with it just being our final project, we just wanted to use the total freedom that we had left with the college. Just to design something that we were happy with, and so at the end of the project we could actually feel proud of what we'd done and achieve the goals that we wanted to achieve ourselves. And as for the time panic, we were able to finish our client job and then be able to fully commit to this project, and we were able to get the development team back on our good side within a week. So with developers, obviously you have GitHub to vision control what you're doing. Designers, it's not so easy. Plus, Andy and I had never worked as a team before on design work. We looked up, and there are tools like Pixel Apps and Folio to fix this issue, but we decided to go with nothing. Considering the timescales, we were already falling behind. So there was just no time to learn a new product or a new way of working, really. Lucky enough, because we're on the same placement together, we did have 5 days a week of working together and working side by side. So just regular intervals throughout the day, just to check up on each other, support our ideas, and just critique on the work. We split up the design elements of who was designing what, because we were never designing on the same thing. And of course, we had this general style that we'd already devised up to work with. And for the screens, we made sure just to set up a grid so all the measurements matched up and everything was just consistent. So those were 3 main problems just for the team in general. And now I'm going to pass you on to Liam, who's going to talk some technical things.
I'm going to try it. So it's just starting to dawn on us that I'm going to be talking code to a room of developers. But yeah, so it was mine and Joe's job to try and tackle these guys' crazy ideas and turn them into some kind of actual real product. So I'd never built a web app before. The most JavaScript I'd ever wrote before this was creating a hamburger menu. So this was like a huge undertaking for us. So I asked around for some kind of stuff that I can just get straight into, get learning, and some things that were pointed out to us that might be good for me to use was React and Firebase. React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces, and then we can use Firebase as a kind of backend to persist the data. A lot of people in here probably already worked with React, so bear with me if I make any mistakes. So the reason why we chose React especially is because it uses JSX. It's kind of more familiar for casual developers like myself and Joe and designers who are used to working with just HTML and CSS. A lot of people seem to be against JSX, but to me, I might be really naive in thinking this, is that that's what makes React awesome. Like, why wouldn't you want to render your markup to look like HTML? React makes use of stateful components, which is why it works so well with Firebase, sorry. So state of React, all the data is stored in one big object, and Firebase's database is all stored as one big object. So we can use cool things like Rebase to sync our data. So essentially with Rebase, we can sync our data so that it persists. And all we have to do is set our state in React, update our initial state, and we don't have to worry about data persisting. So we can just carry on doing the fun stuff, and that took away a lot of the kind of heavy work for me. Routing in JSX, in React, sorry, we use JSX to do that as well. So the most popular router for React is React Router. It has a really powerful API, and it does a lot of things. This is something I never used before. I didn't even consider when using a web app that it would be a single page. So that was new to me. React uses a one-way data flow, and we pass that down via props on the JSX component itself. This looks really nice, and a better way to visualize it is this, like a tree-like structure. So the way I did it was from a top-level component that passes the data all the way down. When the app was a lot smaller, this worked really well. But as the app started to grow, this turned into a real problem, and I was ready just to give up and say, that's it, I'm done, I can't do it. Like this, passing data back up through the tree-like structure. With React on its own, you have to use callback functions on each individual component, and this just gets a nightmare when the app gets big and you're trying to track whatever you're using. So yeah, that can get a bit messy. This is a better example. So say if you've got a component here, to pass that data from that component to component 3, you would have to pass it all the way back to the top level component and then pass it all the way back down. Surely there's a better way of doing this. And there is. So I asked around for a lot of help again, and people pointed me in the direction of Redux. So Redux is an implementation of the Flux methodology that has been widely accepted as a standard to use with React. And the reason why Redux is so good is because it's quite sort of well known in the community, and it seems to be gaining a lot of popularity, which means that there's loads of documentation. I could jump straight right in, and there's loads of questions on Stack Overflow and things if I got stuck. So instead of having that nightmare of passing data back up through each individual component, we can have a global store that is made available to us via Redux that we can pass straight to the store, then it's passed all the way back down. And we do this through what's known as a dispatcher in Flux, but an action in Redux. An action is just a payload of information that sends data from your application to the store. Actions just describe the change, but the reducer in Redux describes how the state is changed. So a reducer is a pure function that takes in the initial state and returns the action, takes in the previous state, the action, and then returns the next state. We keep all this data in the Redux store, like I mentioned before, which takes in all of our combined reducers and the initial state, which is kind of similar to React's initial state. The reason why Redux works really well with React is that we can attach it to the top level component, so that is easily accessed by all of our sort of bottom level components as we pass it down the kind of tree-like structure that I showed before. So to do this, we use the maps data props function, match dispatch to props function, and then connect these to our top level component. The reason why this component has access to that data is that it's provided in the store. It's provided in the store in the router itself. So instead of using the router like we did before, we attach another component around it, which is the provider component, and then that gives access to the app component. That gives access to the store from the app component. So how does all this work together? How do I make it clear? Go. So the wardrobe, like Andy showed before. So the initial state comes from the global state. The global state, when we update it, this just updates the initial state of the component. Like so. If we cancel, it goes back to the global state of Redux. Again, we're making a change, and this updates the initial state of this particular component. And then we save it, and that saves to our database and Firebase, and it updates the global store as well. So I hope that went okay. And that's pretty much all we've got.
Or any of them? Any of the four of them? There we go, this question back.
Thank you.
How did you form your team? How did you come together and spread out the roles?
It was all just mutual interests of what we wanted to do. So we all had different goals. Andy wanting to focus more on the UX, Catherine on the UI, Joe on learning more about SAS and styling, and then myself on JavaScript, so it just seemed to fit together really well.
Yes?
How long did it take? Surely it was more than 4 weeks.
Yeah, 6-week project. Yeah, a lot of work.
As it seemed, did you discover any methodology that might work better next time?
Well, for design, definitely communication and using some form of version control. We could have done with a project manager and a creative director, an accountant. Yes?
You mentioned that you didn't develop the questions part of the app. Was that a conscious decision based on how much time was left?
The functionality for it is working, it's just not styled yet. Yeah.
Did you design all of the artwork yourselves?
Yeah.
No, we stole it all.
Yeah.
You mentioned a few things that could have been done better. If you could pick one thing to do differently, what would it be?
There's a lot of things.
Yeah. For me, it would have been using Redux from the start in terms of development. It would have saved a lot of time.
No more questions? Oh, there's one.
Are you going to continue on the project and take it through to completion?
We might work on other projects, but we might have had enough of this one.
Yeah.
The artwork is brilliant. Did you have much trouble making it work in code?
Many, many.
Cool, is that, are we good for questions? I'll take that as a yes. Right, a massive round of applause for